So we're here with Eve. Hi, Eve.
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Let me just say a couple of words of introduction, and I actually have a couple of thoughts, sort of bullet points. I can sort of save those. Maybe we can go back and forth a bit. Let me know what you'd like. But just first of all, hi, I'm Eve Mailer. By day, I'm a Forrester analyst, and I cover identity and access management and privacy enhancement and authentication and API security and a bunch of things. By night, I'm actually the sort of the proprietor of the user managed access standard. I have an abiding interest in what DASA calls the BLT sandwich of what we are all working on today, you know, the business, legal, technical aspects. So I was very excited to be asked to join you for a little while here today. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Well, one of the topics we've discussed a lot today is about, having consent preferences that we could put forward and how that system might actually work. And one of the projects that we worked on is this consent legal map. So a lot of people here has been working on that, and the idea is just to map out the consent laws and principles in different jurisdictions, so that we can sort of start figuring out how to assert preferences, consent preferences. So it's been really cool. I think you mentioned something about consent directives as a way the healthcare industry works. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that and how you see that might work.
Sure. So yeah, on a recent hangout, I was sort of talking about how in the past I've excoriated the notion of consent the way we often mean it, and that's really unfair to consent. Consent is important the way we often mean it, but the way we often mean it is right at runtime, you're asked whether you consent to do something that all the apps in your immediate vicinity are poised to do for you if you will only give them more data. And it doesn't lead to a lot of meaningful, informed, non-coerced consent. And so I have been learning about how in certain parts of the sort of healthcare IT industry, they have this phrase, consent directives. And once I fully understood them, I appreciated that consent directives are really what a lot of people might call authorization policy. And so I think that there's a lot of power in this notion of, hopefully people can hear me okay. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right. Thank you. I should ask for thumbs up more often. That feels really good. Thank you. Sound. Consent directives are things you can sort of put on file, to use a sort of paper metaphor. In some cases, it's really paper, to govern what is shared about you later on, maybe when you're not in the room or not online at that moment. For example, if you're in an emergency room. And I love this notion of being able to consent proactively to circumstances that you know you want to permission, allow, whatever. So I love this notion of, yes, getting consent right at the moment when you probably have the least power you will ever have with these folks, these operators of services online, but also at the moments when we tend to have a little bit more power, when it's a little bit more evened up. So those are my thoughts on consent directives.